There you go. Hi, friends. Doc South here, and uh, I should mention on YouTube there are so many videos about airplanes. You could probably be on YouTube looking at nothing but airplane videos for phew, probably for a year before without even repeating them. I mean, and I'm talking night and day. Yeah. By the end of that year, you'd be pretty well convinced you don't want to see any more airplane videos, but there are quite a few. And I thought, gee, I'd get in on the deal and talk about some of my measly adventures in the wonderful world of flight. Uh huh. And why not? As I think back on my life, I think that is one regret that I never tried for some kind of pilot's license. My granddad flew airplanes, yes, in World War One, and not in combat. I don't believe he was in combat. I think he flew seaplanes. I think there was some kind of brand new thing, some some kind of way to take off that they figured out. I don't know if Orville and Wilbur did this or not, but I think he did actually work with seaplanes. At least that's what he told me. And I've gotten that from other folks too. Granddad did have his license. Um, then my father, of course, flew torpedo bombers and Corsairs in World War II. Did not get into combat. He was next, and the war ended. Um, I know when he was much older and retired, the governor of New Jersey um, sent him a letter saying that my father would be very welcome in the Air National Guard, and could they'd be glad to teach him how to fly jets. He wrote back saying, "Gee, he didn't know if he'd want to do that. He was a little old to be in the Air National Guard." I think at that point he was in his 70s. He said he'd give it a try, but they wrote back and said, "Well, maybe we'll rethink this." But me, I've mostly just gotten rides in airplanes. I've sometimes had pilots say, "Okay, here, why don't you take the helm, so to speak?" And for a little while, I'm looking around and having a pretty good time. Um, and the well, I thought I should mention my very first airplane ride. Yeah, I was driving by the airport, that particular airport, where I got a ride one day back in, let me think, 1956. 1956. It was my birthday in June. And my uncle, I don't know, we were sitting around at my grandparents' house up at Lake Lenape. My granddad had a log cabin up there. And we're all sitting around in a nice log cabin. Now, this was not an Abe Lincoln type log cabin. This was a sweet little log cabin. And real logs and everything, yeah. We're sitting around knocking down probably some barbecued chicken. And my Uncle Don says his nickname for me was Charlie. He says, "Hey, Charlie," he says, "look, for your birthday, I just made a phone call. My friend, Mr. Norkey across the way?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, he's a pilot, and he said he'd take you for an airplane ride for your birthday, you and me. What do you say?" I said, "Well," I looked at my parents. My father said, "Yeah, I think his name was Jack Norkey. I could be wrong on the first name. But he said, yeah, Jack's a good pilot. He said he flew in World War II, flew I think, torpedo bombers or something. I don't know, some kind of fighter plane." And he said, you'd be fine with him. Why don't you go?" I said, boy, they hit me right out of the blue with it. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'd love to go. This would be fantastic. I've always been looking at the darn planes, from the ground. Now you said, when are we going to go? My Uncle Don says, "Go get your coat on. We're going now." I said, "I'll be dadgum." And Mr. Norkey pulled into the driveway, honked his horn, and we went out the door. My father said, "Now listen, you pay attention to these guys. You're going to be up in a plane. No opening the doors or messing with any of the controls. You hear me?" I said, "Yeah, sure. No, I'll be good." And Uncle Don said he'd keep an eye on me. Of course, Uncle Don was mostly blind, but he was missing one eye, and the other eye was pretty dim. Um, but say he said still he'd keep an eye on me. And if he didn't, Mr. Norky would. We'll call him Jack. And so we get in the car. We drive to. There was an airport about 3 miles from Lake Lenape, a grass airport. You just basically took off and landed from what looked to be a very nice lawn, and except where there was different spots where there were skid marks. And of course, to scare me, they pointed out the skid marks. Oh, there's where old Bob there kind of when he landed, he went sideways. Oh, geez, he'll be out of the hospital soon though. Don't worry. I said, no, I'm not worried. They were trying to scare me. Maybe they didn't really want to go up, but no, I was going, man. I didn't care if plane crashed in flames. I wanted to go up. And Mr. Norky walked me around. He says, now here's how you check the airplane. You got to check the wings. Oh, he says, this one's a little loose. It wasn't loose, but he's yanking on. He says, well, I guess we'll be okay. I said, yeah. And he says, let's see, touch that one thing. Go for the rudder. Oh, yeah. No, you didn't break it. No, that's supposed to do that. Okay, it's supposed to wobble. I thought, man. So anyway, they throw me in the back of the plane. Put your seatbelt on. First time I ever had a seatbelt on. Yeah, this was long before seatbelts, weren't customary. Heck, the last thing you wanted to be was trapped in your car in a wreck. Yeah. And, seatbelts weren't too much in vogue, but in airplanes they were. So Mr. Norky showed, there was this big fat, green seatbelt made out of I don't know, like you make, out of canvas with brass buckles on it. And I'm in. He's getting, you see out over the edge. Remember, you're going to be in back looking. Your Uncle Don's going to be up front riding a shotgun. Don, you can fly this thing if you have to. Don says, man, I can't see a thing. Like, yeah, I can see the dashboard. He said, you'll be okay. Let's go. And they, anyway, Mr. Norky gets in. He took me all through the startup. And then, I can still see him. Well, let's see if this thing will start up. You see the propeller going just a little, and then all of a sudden, oh, yeah. Oh, this is going to be cool. And he's running through the checklist. He says, now we got to look and make sure this was, again, an airport didn't have a control tower. It was a rural field. And he's looking. He says, you see anything coming? I said, no, I don't see anything. He says, now look, now we're going to take off in that direction. Look and see if you see anything coming that would land on us as we're trying to take off. And he said, okay, I see nothing. He says, well, do you see anything? Now, what about anything coming coming from the direction we're going to be going? I said, no, it looks clear. He says, okay, let's go. And he turns, I can still feel it. We were going onto the runway. And it was just basically a clear spot in the grass where they cut the grass. The rest of it was field, like wheat and stuff. And and to this day, if I'm on a plane, I just love that part of the ride where he said, okay, we're going to gun it. You ready? And all of a sudden it's all noisy. The thing's, the propeller's going all of a sudden you can't see it anymore. For a while you could see it. It was coughing and off. Oh my gosh. He says, let's let it warm up just a little more. Okay, let's go. He says, now watch what I'm going to do. You may have to do this someday. And he grabs some kind of handle, which I guess was the throttle. And the thing really starts to roar, the engine. And the engine's roaring and you can't even see the propeller anymore. He says, hey, you can't even see the propeller. He says, that's because it's moving like it should. Let's go. And he guns it a little further and we take off. And oh my gosh, I can still feel that seat in my back. Yeah. And we're going along. Uncle Don said, hey, when are we going to start flying? We don't want to hit those trees up at the end of the runway. Norky says, yeah, we're okay. Don't worry about it. And guns it some more, more bumps. And all of a sudden, there's no more bumps. And then there's one more bump. We hit the ground a little, and up we go. And the trees just go right down below us. go right by below us. Oh, I'm looking at that. Ah, it was just so cool. I could see the squirrels and stuff, you know, and and off we go, and we get higher and higher. Oh my heavens! Pretty soon we're about he said, "Can you see? Look up here to the dial. Do you see this one over here?" He says, "That's the altimeter. It's doing. It's reading in feet above the surface of the earth. What do you see?" I said, "I think I see. We're a little bit over 5,000 feet." He says, "How much? How high is that?" I said, "Well, that's a mile." He says, "We're a mile up. We're going to go a little higher too. Got to get up to cruising altitude." And we, with that, he guns it some more, and we go up higher. I see the altimeter going like, oh yes, ah. And now all those, things like cars are looking like ants, and and it doesn't really seem like we're going that fast till some other plane flew by us from the other direction, and so he says, "Yeah, we're moving out. Look at the speed. Can you see the airspeed? We're doing 120 or whatever it was. 150 maybe." Yeah, I said, "Wow, 150 miles an hour?" He says, "Yeah, yeah. Oh boy, this is great." And he said, "Well, so what do you think? You want to let's go to Teterboro Airport. What do you say?" I said, "Sure. Where is it?" I'm looking. He says, "Well, it's off to the east. Look on the compass. Can you see the compass?" "Yeah, I see it." He says, "We got to head east. We got to make a heading for east." And he turns the plane. "You let me know when that E is on the top of the circle." I said, "Well, you're almost there. Almost there. You got it." And off we went. Teterboro Airport. Of course, I see we're going a little long on this story, but oh my God, it was so much fun. And we actually, he had a call into the tower at Teterboro, and get his flight instructions on how to land, or what runway to take and all that. And it was. And when we landed at Teterboro, we went to the pilot's lounge. Yep, stood around in the pilot's lounge while they fueled up his plane, Mr. Norkey's plane, and we all had a soda. Yeah, we had a Coca-Cola, and then it was time to go back to Lake Lenape. And by that time, it was starting to get dusk. Yeah, we had plenty of time to land, but we had to hurry. Yeah, because the sun was going down. And I remember looking down as the dusk developed, especially on the ground, not so much where we were, but the dusk, as it developed on the ground, I could see all the drive-in movies lighting up, for the previews and the cartoons. I could actually look down at the Ledgewood Drive-In. I can still, it was the first, what would you call it, landmark I noticed and knew what it was. I said, "Hey, that's Ledgewood Drive-In. We go there." He says, "Yeah. He says, "That's it. Sure. You got it." "God," he says, "you're pretty good at this. Now, what's that big lake over there?" I said, "Oh, well, it's not Lake Lenape. It's too big. There's Bertrand's Island. My God, that's Lake Apacon we're flying over." He says, "Yes, sir. Hey, you'll be good at this." And, next thing you know, we're landing. It's almost dark, and we're landing. Yeah, yeah. And I got to say, it was one of the greatest, as I think back, one of the greatest days ever. Oh, man. And I was so grateful to Uncle Don. That was so nice of him. And of course, Mr. Norkey. It's a shame my father couldn't have been there too, because we would have had fun if he took the controls. I think we'd have been needing the barf bag for me. But it was pretty cool. Anyway, I thought I'd say. I'll see you later, friends. Thank you. And I do apologize this is long, but you know what? Lord's Prayer moment, I don't care. We got to do it. Our Father, because I was doing a little praying when we were taking off. Yeah. "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. So be it. I seem to remember I said that prayer as we were coming in for a landing, too. Uncle Don said it might be a good idea. Anyway, I'll see you later. God bless and thank you.